Now, our final panel discussion, which is up next, will tackle how we all can think and work together on future-proofing our cities and thrive within our communities as we deal with natural disasters, climate action, digital inclusion, information transparency, and resilient cities in the era of digital economies. Let's welcome our panel of expert speakers. We have our moderator, Sumitra Suryan, Chief Marketing and Commercial Officer, Headland Phuket, and advisor to the Phuket Hotels Association. We have Ambassador Chantal Wong, former U.S. Executive Director to the Asian Development Bank. We have Cindy Tan Harabata, President Tahara Leisure and Hospitality Group. We have CF Do, Green and Resilient Building Program Lead in Vietnam and Thailand, International Finance Corporation IFC, World Bank. And Sanjay Popley, co-founder and group CEO, CryptoMind.
Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to today's session. It is my absolute privilege and also honor to be here today moderating this particular subject with our expert panelists here today. We've got, Ambassador Wong, we've got Cindy, and we've got Diep, and also Sanjay, all coming from very different organizations and also different backgrounds. So sharing their perspective and also insights to how we're going to build a resilient, not only resilient cities, but also islands where some of us are from in the era of digital economies. So as we all know, cities and islands are currently at the front line of change and constant change. They are where the digital economies take root, where communities must adapt quickly to shift to realities. So resilience today is not just about physical infrastructure. It's not how, we come together with use of technology, but also looking at, sustainability, inclusion to create cities that can withstand shocks and also thrive in times of uncertainty with recent current affairs in different cities, particularly, there's floodings in south of Thailand. We've got the fire in Hong Kong and many others as well. So let's look at how we can be more disaster resilient and also, look at risk mitigation as well as part of the urban planning and also constructions and compliance. And we will theme it around real estate, let's dive into it. So, Ambassador Wong, we'll start with you, and so let's look at government's policy and development finance and also compliance. Your expertise coming from your former time with the ADB as the executive director, I think this will come very helpful with your insights as to how it can impact real estate projects when it comes to, beyond compliance.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be here in Thailand, here in Bangkok, especially beautiful weather, very nice. I was expecting, heat wave, but apparently not. So let me just maybe talk about a little bit about the elephant in the room a little bit. One of the biggest and most often really unspoken risks in building climate resilience cities is really corruption. We see it very much in construction and permitting processes. Even the best resilient policies fail if building standards are undermined by shortcuts taken to save money or accelerate approvals. And so you mentioned the floods here in Thailand, but certainly we saw it. I'm spending a lot more time in the Philippines these days. Repeated floods have been really worsened by building construction and on waterways and waterways through irregular permits. Particularly, drainage systems are sometimes blocked and underbuilt because infrastructure contracts were awarded without proper oversight. And you mentioned the Hong Kong fires, the Taipo industrial area, but the fires exposed weaknesses really in building inspection and code enforcement, where inspection are inconsistent and circumvented. It created really a lot of vulnerabilities amongst those that really makes it. What the question is, what can be done in terms of governance paired with reforms in development finance, and that's where I think in institutions like development finance, like the ADB or the IFC, can come in to help validate, verify milestones before they're being paid. So conditional financing on transparent procurement processes, third-party monitoring systems, supporting. And we're talking about digital economies here, supporting digital permitting, building codes, for example, enforcement, and certainly e-permitting. In some cities, we're now seeing e-permitting reduce discretionary decision-making and increase traceability. And finally, sort of requiring climate risk disclosures and independent audits where resilient features are mandated and must be verified before being paid. So ultimately, that's what builds resistance, right? Trust, transparency, accountability, all that will attract actually more investments into this sector.
Thank you very much. That's a really concise insight into how we can risk mitigate some of the construction and also building compliance, which leads me to the next question to Dip as well from IFC. So how do you think some of the tools that IFC's Building Resilience Index Edge could help some of the developers embed resilience into their project when it comes to real estate?
Right. Hi. So I'm Zip. I come from the IFC, the International Finance Corporations, and so as the name suggests, right, we lend to projects, and we have a very ambitious goal to finance green and resilience. Right. We cannot just finance to make a rich man richer. We finance projects that have impacts to the society and to the environment. But let's say, imagine we have the green taxonomy of Thailand this year, added the building sector. So more and more you would see K-Bank, Bangkok Bank would pop up these questions. We have this program that we finance green hotel. Do you build a green hotel, right? So then your questions in mind is, what do you define as green? Secondly, how do I do green? And then thirdly, where do I get support to build green, right? So to be able to fit into the category of green finance that maybe your bank could actually suggest. So what do we do as the IFC, as the biggest financial institutions on earth, is we create tools that help banks and real estate developers and hotel owners have the same standard for green and climate resilience. Actually, I want to go back on the definitions of this, right? Why doing green is resilience? Basically, you would save energy, you save water. Think about you building a hotel in Phuket where there is a shortage of clean water. You want your business to become more resilient, you need to build green. Yeah. There's also the other side of the coin, which is climate adaptations. There will be more flood. There will be more storm. You build your hotel mostly along the coastal line. how do you actually mitigate those risks that will happen more and more increasingly in the future? Right. So those are the resilience that I'm talking about. And that is what we as IFC is directing the whole finance sector to financing projects that is actually do better. However, builders in this market, in all emerging markets, not just Thailand, not just Vietnam, not just the Philippines, lack the data to build more resilience and more green. We might not actually lack the technology, but we lack the data. Data on, let's say, the earthquake that happened, right? That Bangkok has been impacted too. We never really imagined we will have those earthquakes. That is actually in the scenario of 300 years, but it happened. Is our code protecting us? It does, but on only the structured side of the buildings, not the non-structured side. In layman terms, that would mean your building is intact, but maybe your gypsum board or some of the chandelier might fall on you. Would you survive then? Might not, right? So you see this lacking in the code. And so we have to have a tool that's technical enough to direct developers into financing in those lacking aspects. At the same time, quantify it, both in terms of how much it will cost you, how much you save out of it, so you can inform the bankers. Because bankers only speak in numbers. Come to them and say, oh, this is very good, it's very green. It's like, how green, how good? Quantify it for me. Because they talk in terms of how many tons of CO2 have you saved? How intact, right? How much loss have you reduced? Will your insurance company will still stay with you after the earthquake? Those are the questions that the bankers will question you, right? That is why the IFC, which is also a bank, it has to have our hands in here. We create tools that is free, that is accessible online for everybody. One is called the Edge tool, excellent in design for great efficiencies. These talk about resilience in terms of energy saving, water saving. The other one is called the Building Resilience Index. These address different climate risks that might happen to you in terms of typhoon, flooding, earthquake, and so on, extreme heat and everything, right? The tool will help you to understand what exactly you have to do for your building. It also helps you to get an estimate of how much that would cost. You then bring that report to K-Bank and ask, I want to build my hotel green. This is how much more it will cost. What do you have for me? Then the finance calculation for you is very clear, right? And then K-Bank will say, I don't have anybody to verify that you are green. But that is also what we have done. We create a whole ecosystem, so there will be SGS, Sintali, GBCI, and those that are very competent in the technical world to verify whether you have reached that level of green or not. Yeah. So that's how we build a whole ecosystem around it and help developers to build green. My apologies, my answer has been long. But
No,
I'm
they're
trying
very
to
helpful answers. And I think,
I have
Cindy,
a
you've got a
I'm
question.
sorry, I'm not the moderator, but I'm just curious about what she said earlier.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so the thing is, I mean, I see it in the Philippines where a lot of the bigger companies actually adapt the green finance and also, but how do you now connect with the SMEs? Because 90% of the hotel owners are SMEs.
Yep.
Do they have access to your technology? And at the same time, the other part is that how do you communicate to a small boutique owner of say 30 rooms, and how do they adapt those measures?
It's even more important for SMEs to build green. Because if you are an SME hotel owners, you will understand. Just 1 or 2 rooms that will just, they will just leave their ACs on all the time might really affect your bottom lines, right? And this is why we have to cut the chase. For bigger projects, they have the financial capacity to hire a very good engineer to come in and have a whole assessment. And it will tell you exactly, you do this and you will save this. The assessment alone might cost up to 100 5,000 USD. SME will not be able to afford that.
Yeah,
and that
that's
is why we create this tool that is free. It will not be top of the line, but it's free and it's accessible for SME and everybody can use it. How much have we spent on this? We have been sleeping on this for close to 20 years with millions of dollars that has been so kindly contributed to us by our donors. So we have this free tool, okay? Don't trust it. It has scientific, backups. We spend years and we spend, millions actually. It costs us just 3 million a year to maintain the Edge apps online, right? Just to maintain it and to maintain the IT of it. So this is how we help SME. This is exactly what we want to help actually, because as a development financial institutions, we want to help the small to jump up, right? Yeah.
Would you also suggest that this should be prior building, like as part of the planning from the very beginning, I think to make it sustainable and resilient as well, having these tools being considered and also making sure that, you build something that is resilient in the future?
Yeah. I mean, rule of thumb is that if you plan green from the beginning, it always costs you less than actually retrofitting green.
Yeah.
But you still have the chance to retrofit. Ascot has done that. Mm-hmm. So what Ascot has done is that they group their need of green retrofitting into a bond. They call it green bond because they will retrofit up to green standard. They then sell that bond to us, IFC, who also buy in to make sure that Ascot will retrofit their hotel green. You see, you benefit in multiple angles on this, right?
Yeah, fantastic. That's really good to know as well. I think information like this, especially you said it's been around for 20 years and it's free. So it's definitely something that we all should get our hands on. And that will benefit everybody and the community as well. And so the next question, I'm going to move on to Sanjay. So from CryptoMind. So when it comes to finance and also lots of property transactions that take place in real estate world who are moving online, so how do we build trust and transparency in the digital real estate marketplaces when it comes to digital economies?
So I think we have 3 pillars here from the Web3 perspective. And so first of all, I would say the tokenization of real world asset is one of them. And secondly is a financial inclusion and transparency of governance. So let me break it down point by point. So for example, in the real estate today, right, there are problem on access to funding in some part for some SME, right? So I think Thailand have one of the clear example here, right? So we have this license to operate by the Thai SCC called ICO portal. So where you are allowed to tokenize, I would say like a tokenized REIT, for example. There are a few projects that came out of that. One is RealX by one of the established real estate company. Second one is Siri Hub by Sansiri is one of the other company, right, that did this already. So the way they did this is basically set out SPV and everybody, the retail or any folks would have the access to have the ownership to the property, right? So I think that is one way of securing the funding in the future, right? So these are more like a pilot project in the initial phase, I would say, but further down, developing down the line, right? I think even like tokenized carbon credit bond, for example, right? Like why do they have to sell to like the World Bank or IDB or ADB, right? I mean, there are folks with retail folk who are investor, right? They should have access or be allowed access to all these tokenized carbon credit as well. What that allows in turn is that it allows firstly more liquidity, right? And secondly more trading nature of it. So basically you can buy and sell at the same time. People can come speculate. If not speculate, they can actually invest if they believe in carbon credit and they see the price makes sense, right? And it always will create an equilibrium of the pricing as well. So how do you know if this carbon credit is worth how much, right? So I think that is where the future is moving for tokenization in a way, right? So first of all, we'll have all these real world assets being put on chain, right? So whether the hotel, condominium, real estate company, commercial property, right? So this is still a very early phase at this moment in time. And we have like countless of projects spun up in this way, right? And secondly, I think the point on financial inclusion, right? So right now, I think a lot of people are still underbanked in the Southeast Asia region. And with cryptocurrency or digital asset, right, it allows like kind of inclusion of financial asset on all, so no matter where you're from, right? So imagine you are a worker in Laos like 20 years ago. How would you get access to the US dollar as a saving? So with crypto or digital asset nowadays, you can just open an account, you can just buy like, swap your exchange currency into a USDT or USDC, save it as and earn on T-bill, which US is like producing 3 to 4% a year. So basically that actually allow people from country with, I would say, prone to a financial disaster, right? So whether it's like hyperinflation, what happened in Zimbabwe, now you're seeing in Argentina, Venezuela or whatnot, right? Your currency gets so much debasement, whether it's political issue, like what's happening in Myanmar right now, for example, right? On the other hand. So allow people to have access to all these other currency or all these other asset without having to leave their country. So I think that's a very, very important point. Yeah.
And I guess you would take that as it's quite a stable and also, I guess, trust platform, as well as, what do you think of the transparency of that?
So I think in the digital asset space, right, the transparency comes with that everything can be on-chain. So what it means by being on-chain is that you can see, right, where is the movement going to, and then where did it end up, and what volume is coming in or out of these current assets as well. And all the whole money flow, you can see it clearly without having to rely on any particular party. So it's free for all to see and just check and interact. I think that's the key on that part, right? So that's where we go to the next part about the transparency part, where in Resilient City, like I think there's current example, for example, a pilot project by Balaji. So if you guys don't know who Balaji is, so he's one of the guy in the crypto space, did many investment, one of the big VC there. So he started this thing called network state. So basically the network state is where they get this property area in Johor in Malaysia where they have all the development there, and then you might have seen in the documentary that it's like deserted, right? So basically they got the economic zone there going, and network state is kind of an experiment where they bring Web3 founder, AI founder at one place and try to create like a new kind of city out there. So what it allows that if you want to like, let's say change the water meter, have some vote, it'll be all on chain and all with the 100% on that region. So it's a very experimental phase right now, but the longer term vision is that in the network state is that we are not in a one country anymore. We are all living in digital state. So if you have, let's say you live in this city, you have some voting right, everything can be on chain and everything can be democratized. So let's say that if you need something to vote right now, right? So like you have to call up the whole council when it's on chain, right? Like they can verify that you actually belong and living in this city, and you can make the appropriate vote as you see fit, I think.
Yeah, it is. And also, I guess risk, when it comes to risk mitigation as well, it's actually, very good. Wow.
Sorry, I went a bit over there. Yeah.
No, it's very good. It's also, I guess, not so very new concept, but I think a lot of people are also coming to understanding that as well. So thank you for sharing that. And going to our next panelist, so Cindy. So Cindy, as part of hospitality projects and often, in urban growth areas, so where do you see hotels and mixed-use developments lead in terms of resilience planning?
Well, I see that most in the urban areas. In the end, a lot of our cities are also based on built environment. So a lot of the buildings are also aging. So resilience is actually quite important. So similar to what Diep also said earlier, is that there are retrofits that's happening now. So a lot of what we do for other customers or some of our clients are retrofitting hotels, rebranding, renovation, and just keeping into times on what the market demands are. But a lot of the business, because we're also in the Philippines and Indonesia, for instance, it's an archipelago, and a lot of Asia Pacific countries rely on coastal communities, and a lot of the developments also here in Thailand are in the resort settings. So big companies, because they see the impact of resilient building, starting from design and planning, actually do a little better. My concern is really, if you want to create real impact, is SMEs. That's why I always emphasize that to boutique players. So no matter how big your businesses grow, and we're all in growth, let's not forget about the SMEs, and we have to donate time to make sure that they're also inclusive in all this growth that's happening. I'm a big advocate when it comes to preservation also, especially historical buildings. And in fact, I learn a lot from, in a lot of my trips, it's always the UNESCO sites I look at, because it's it's something that says that history that needs to be preserving and how we're supposed to adapt now in urban change. So I know you talk to the financial people, you talk to capitalists, investment bankers, they're all about growth and trying to scale. But what about now? I'm not saying descale, but just look at what we actually have in our communities also, because it's so important that we go back to the people who originally puts it together, architects. We always connect with people who also built those buildings before, because a lot of the improvements also is the restoration part. So it's not like you just tear down a building and put something new just because you feel it can no longer serve, your capital raise or the returns for investment. So in an earlier discussion also, there's such a thing as not only return on investment, but return on community, return on people, return on basically your neighborhood. Because in the end, in the new generation, part of the experience is community, how you connect with not only nature, but the people who live in that area.
Thank you very much. Yeah, community do play a big part of it, and also raising the awareness when it comes to preservation and also sustainability. So it is definitely important. So next, I'd like to ask Ambassador Wong a question about models that we could adapt when it comes to public-private partnership, and what could help. What kind of models that you see that could help fund climate resilient housing and also infrastructure?
Actually, it goes back to the community as well. Public-private partnerships will work for sustainability and resilience only if communities are part of that process, right? And that is what we think about. It's when we do public-private partnerships is safeguards, and safeguards speak to both making sure they don't build on waterways, or making sure that we don't disrupt current uses, multi-uses that the communities already have on them. Because once we do disrupt them, it actually causes even more disasters that could happen around that. And so I go back to the verification part, where private-public partnerships need to have performance-based verifications around it, and then around risk mitigation. So blended finance, whether it's with IFC, with ADB, with the public sector, with the private sector, it actually is better when we bring the blended finance, when we bring these issues. Sometimes when we talk to governments and private sector, their concerns a lot about it costs too much to do all of these mitigations and performance verifications and whatnot. But guess what? It's for the longer term benefit of the projects that where we do have these safeguards that come along. So we are, because we are co-owners of all of this, that IFC and ADB and that all the DFIs require open contracting, beneficial ownership disclosures, community monitoring. All of those are all very much aspects of public-private partnerships that are good for development.
Thank you very much. I'll move to Dib as well. So you talked about the practical steps in terms of integrating, these tools into green building standards. So what are the lessons from your experience in, leading Vietnam and Thailand that can guide some of these fast-growing cities?
So the tool is very much tested on, right? Practical step one that you can do is try it. Yeah, try it on your business, try it on your own home. Because actually you spend times with your home, right? You probably are all rich and have houses in Bangkok metropolitan area. You want to build your homes green and also resilient so that the next earthquake will not harm you. We have tools for that. Try it on with your own homes, and then you see what would be the cost, what would be the kind of gaps that maybe I have to bridge, right? And then if you're business owners, next would be go to your bank, your partner bank, and say, I know that Thailand has the green taxonomy. I know Vietnam has a green taxonomy. I know the whole ASEAN has a green taxonomy. I want to build green. What do you have for me? Because banks have KPIs for green. Don't let them go with just having your projects green and then they go and report it. This is their matter and you basically pay for that, right? So approach them with that. And also advertising, ADB and IFC, we're very much keen on investing in these areas of the world as well. So we're here and we have blended finance. Blended finance means that there will be another investor that come in, mix their finance with us to lower the interest rate. Yeah, we also finance into banks. This is how we can also finance mortgage, right? And if you just search, Standard Chartered has green mortgage, green housing mortgage. UOB has it as well. Uri banks, all these guys have green mortgage, right? And look into their requirements. They would say probably like either you build it LEED or EDGE or some certifications. And our certification normally costs less, but depends. You might want LEED because it's bring more brand name. Right? Do this, exercise. And sometimes you just have to actually demand your own architecture firms or engineering firms. Don't get them to be lazy and just bring you with a standard proposal. Tell them, I want to build green. Yeah? And then also, if you want advice from IFC, we do a lot of advice for companies on how to actually package their green policies into something that will help them raise funds. Like Ascot with their green bond. That's exactly how they use it. Green bond sells better than normal bond. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunities from there. If you want expertise on how to actually help you package that, you know that there's lots of advisory projects from ADB or IFC that provide you with these advice for free. For free, okay? We probably demand a little bit more than ADB. ADB just they don't do it for free. But for IFC, we do it, and then we ask that if you kindly choose to get loan from us before you get loan from others, that will be a plus. But we cannot mandate that. So basically, if you find a cheaper guys on the market and you go with them, we cannot do anything. See, so there's lots of things that you can is there to support you. Just try it. Just stop before you pay. Okay, stop before you pay. If you want additional advice, just come to me.
There you go. Free consultation, everybody.
Exactly.
It'll save you
Should
lots
I
of
pay
money.
now? I would probably say to you, no. Get back and let me revise your plan first. If we are 99% sure that we're gonna get the certification, we're gonna pay for the registrations. If you're not sure at all, don't pay for anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Those are very important lessons to, if there's a key takeaway today, so there you go. That's, we're here to save you money and time and also save the world. And so we're just running a little bit out of time. So I just want to ask each of our panelists today. So what does, so if we can summarize from today's session. So what does resilience mean to you in terms of, so what does, in one sentence, Ambassador Wong?
That's very hard. I guess what I said earlier about resilience is planning with trust and accountability and monitoring for longer term, right? That's what resilience is. Long-term planning that will have all of the safeguards that are important to keep it going.
Thank you. And Cindy?
I think in a world of perma-crisis now, there are things that we've never experienced, I'd say like 50 years ago, but now it's like every 10 years, a lot of the catastrophe comes back. It's important on how we also bounce back. I think resilience is bouncing back from any calamity as well. So we need to prepare ourselves. So I agree with Ambassador that the long-term planning is quite critical.
Thank you. And Deep?
Well, resilience obviously means that you're the last one standing.
There you go, short and sweet.
All others, done for. But you have to be prepared and be strategic so that you'll be the last one standing.
There you go, the last survivor. Sanjay?
For me, it means building a strong foundation for future usage. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much to all our panelists today, and thank you for having us.